everybody. It's going to give everybody a minute, and I'm going to turn on my iPad just to make sure that we can see everything here. I'll just move this a little bit this way. All right, how's everybody doing? We are going to talk all about cardstock and glitter papers and mixed media papers and all kinds of fun papers. I even had more papers than I even thought. So it was fun kind of going through and pulling things out. Hi, Melanie. And let's see here. All right. Paper is, I think, essential to paper crafting. So, you know, a good thing to have on hand. And depending on what kind of crafter, that might determine, you know, what kind of paper you have on hand. It is fun, isn't it? Hi, Julie. So I grabbed a whole bunch of paper. I'll show you a few little things. If you guys have papers that you love, I'd love to hear about what you like as well. A lot of times I feel like if we're having trouble with a certain technique, then it might be because of our paper. So there's some papers that you are almost essential to a certain type of technique, and you can try other papers with them. And I think it's a good idea to like try lots of different things. If you think, does this work with this or does this work with this? Just get it out and try it, because it is paper. Hi, Rosie. We can throw it away if it doesn't work, but we might even come across a new technique that is lots of fun. Hi, Sandy. So I just grabbed a bunch here, but I have them kind of sorted. So let me just get this organized here, and then I'll kind of go through what I think is, well, essential for me to have on hand for types of crafts that I do. All right. And there's definitely lots to think about in regards to like paper storage. Do you store all your papers? Do you store your pattern papers together, or do you store your cardstock, regular cardstock together, or do you separate it by manufacturer? So sometimes those are also things that we might think about. And I think storage is always the ongoing discussion too. So the first thing that I just pulled out, and lots of these are old paper pads, so they're not going to be around. This one's new though. We have 6x6 paper pads. So these two are just two that I grabbed from my stash. The Craft Consortium, they have lots of these ink drop papers. This one might not necessarily be in the shop, but there's a lot. I'm sure that there's other ones in the shop. Hi, Vanessa. And they are gorgeous. So these 6x6 papers, and they also come in a 12x12 paper pad. These are meant to look like alcohol inked papers, which is great because if you love that look, then you know, you might not have on hand the color you need for alcohol inking, or maybe you just want to get to making a project and don't have time to sit down and play with alcohol inks at that moment. So I think having these on hand for backgrounds, for die cutting, those are always great. And then we have a little Lawn Fawn 6x6. There's lots. This is a single-sided paper pack. Lawn Fawn has lots of paper. Doodlebug has 6x6 paper pads. I think these are great for card making. Yeah, it is beautiful. They have so many really gorgeous backgrounds. There's one that Sandy just showed in her live yesterday, I think it was, or maybe it was Monday. I don't even know what day she was live. Anyway, it might have been yesterday. So it was a craft consortium, I think. Maybe it was Crafter's Companion. Anyway, it's in the new in February, and it's gorgeous. It has like, it's beautiful. Anyway, so these ones are always good, I think, for cards. You can get larger paper packs a lot of times, or larger paper pads, and then the smaller ones are actually scaled down. So if you were to get the larger size, you'd have the larger prints. And I do like using these for card backgrounds and layering cards. So I do have lots of the 6x6 paper pads. Hello, Francesca. You're waiting for your specialist appointment. Oh, well, I'm glad that you could pop in. These ones are old, but like I said, there's other 6x8s. So a lot of times, something that comes to mind is like Vicki Booten will have her large paper pad, and she'll also have a 6x8 paper pad. And these are fabulous as well. These are great too for doing mini albums. So if you have those simple stories or the snap albums that you put the paper in the pocket page, these will perfectly fit in there. And then you can add your pictures and embellishments, but also they're small enough that if you wanted to use them for cards, those are great for card backgrounds too. And I think, is it Coco Vanilla Studio that we have the new ones coming in? A lot of times too, especially simple stories, they have the cut apart 3x4s. So these are great if you do pocket pages or you like to put them on your scrapbook pages. And if you do the pocket pages, you can just cut them apart and stick them in the pages, or even those 6x8 albums, they have the pages that have the little pockets in them, which are perfect. And then you stick these in some of the pockets and you stick in your photos. You can't wait to get your order. Oh, nice, Vanessa. What did you order? Share with us. And I think too that these are big enough that if you wanted to use them on a 12x12 or 8.5x11 scrapbook page, you could definitely use them. There's also lots of sketches on Pinterest that are 12x12 pages, but they use 6x6 papers. So if you find you do have lots of smaller paper pads and you want to use them up, then look for some of those sketches, because those are kind of, cutting them in creative ways so that it actually looks cohesive on your larger layout. Hi, Joyce. Then we have the paper packs. So paper pads are kind of the paper inside a pad, large or small. And then the paper packs, this is new and this is in the shop now. It's really cute. I will be making some stuff with it this month. This is the So Much Fun Doodlebug line. And so lots of companies have the paper pack or paper collection. So Simple Stories always has lots of those, Doodlebug. And so what's nice, Echo Park I think does too. What's nice is that you get the papers that you can still get a lot of times in a 6x6 or 6x8, but these are larger. And then you also get a 12x12 sticker sheet that coordinates. So that's always nice to get the sticker sheet in there. Sometimes you can buy the sticker sheet separately if you've gotten a paper pad, and sometimes it's just coming in depending on the manufacturer. I do like in the paper packs a lot of times that they have cut apart, like this one has tags. It has like some journaling cut aparts, and I think it even has, yeah, this one has various sizes of sentiments and cut apart images. So you could easily get a pack of this and then sit down, like take it with you to a crop or something, or, you know, sit down at your desk and make a bunch of cards. So if you're feeling like, you know, maybe you've made a couple scrapbook pages and then you have some left over, making cards with these is such a great way to use them. So here's a 3x4 cut apart page. You can literally just cut these apart, mat them on some black mat of cardstock and layer these on another color of pattern paper that you feel like matches, and then you've got this sweet little card. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. You've got this sweet card that did not take too much time. It's nice to make a bunch of these up and give them as gifts as well. I like doing that and adding envelopes and just tying them up with some twine and giving them to teachers. There's lots of different sentiments, and of course they work great for scrapbooking. And then we have things like wood grain papers, which I love having a selection of wood grain papers. This one is an Elizabeth Crafts, but you can kind of Minte as well has some really nice wood grain papers. Sometimes Simple Stories does too with their basics line. I think they're kind of nice that you can mix and match them with anything. And I also like using a wood grain paper as a background to take photos. So usually I'll go through and pick out a couple of my favorite wood grains. And if you want to share your photo or your projects online, this is an easy way to do it. So you would just, oops, I'm not supposed to show you that. That was a sneak peek, so we won't tell about that. Let's see, what could we show you that I'm not gonna like totally, okay. This was a Crafting Kimmy thing that I made. I would put it down and then I would take a photo and just crop it to a square. And a lot of times if you have some nice light and you just take it from above, you'll get a really nice photo. So I do like having wood grain papers. So that is kind of, that's pattern paper. Then we can, let's see here. I can seem to line up this camera. Vanessa, you ordered a bunch of different pads of paper and single sheets. Okay, nice. You're picking up. So yeah, Sandy will send you an email as soon as that order is ready, and then you can arrange for pickup from Scrap Shotz if you're picking up. So I think another essential thing to have on hand is plain cardstock. I do have various 12x12 backgrounds, but I find if I'm doing a layout, a lot of times I start with a 12x12 white background. So I have more white than I do colored. The colored 12x12s, I find it often cut down. So if I'm stocking these to have in stock, I want to make sure that I have the 8.5x11s just because I feel like I use those more. But you definitely want to use what works. So Spellbinders has some beautiful cardstocks. This is an assorted pack. Sandy's actually going to be placing an order with Spellbinders, and if there's anything that you want from the shop, then just email her, I'd say soon, and let her know. So this is a smooth cardstock. I don't know if they use this for glimmering, and I haven't glimmered uncolored cardstock. So it's something I do need to try, but it is a beautiful cardstock and it works really nicely for die cutting. Okay, so Sandy just replied to you, Vanessa, and then you guys can arrange it. And so this is really nice for if you want to use it for die cutting, for layering, for anything that you need to do with cardstock, and it's a nice weight. It's not super heavy that you're gonna have trouble doing anything with it. This is 100 pound. So it's not really light, but I think it's a good weight. Then we have, this is Sizzix. I would say this is 80 pound. It's a little bit lighter. I still use this a lot. I find that this was an assorted pack. And this was an A4 size. So that means that it was 8 1/4 by 11. So, which is fine. You just need to be aware of that in case you're used to only working with 8 1/2 by 11. It's a little bit thinner. This Sizzix one is textured, which is really nice. And I think this is great for layering. I wouldn't necessarily use this for a card base because it's a little thinner, whereas this, I would totally use it for a card base. Hi, Karen. And this came in a lot of different colors. So I don't know if this is in the shop right now. A lot of these, you can just email Sandy and she could order them if she can get this from her distributor. It wasn't that long ago, I don't think, that I got it. So it was a nice arrangement of colors, nice range of colors. Then there's also smooth cardstocks from like Tonic. So this is a pack that has 10 sheets. And again, you're gonna use it you can buy this in a pack that has a specific color rather than an assortment. So this would be 10 sheets of the pink. And you can look through the shop, and if there's a color that you like and that you want to stock up on, then that's a great thing to have, to grab a bunch of those, and they're very reasonably priced. You love this Spellbinders 100 pound. Yeah, I would say that's one of my favorites as well. And then this is the classic card. This is the textured. I don't know. They say textured on this, but this one is not textured, so I don't think that is correct. But this one definitely is textured, so you can kind of see. So you want to, just make note of that, whether it's textured or not, and whether you want something that's textured. If you're stamping a sentiment on something, you don't really want to have something that you're stamping on a bumpy surface. You want something that's smooth. Whereas if you're die cutting, maybe you want that little bit of texture in there. So that is regular cardstock. Then we have some metallic cardstock. This is probably not in the shop. It's from a while ago. It might be able to be still ordered. It's one of my favorites. But definitely I think they're all comparable. So there's the mirror card from Tonic. We've also got Prism Studio, which I think is in the shop in various colors. They have a metallic, and you're just going to get that metallic shine. And look, I haven't even opened this because I still had a little bit left, and I bought it when it was available because I love it. I'm going to show you what it looks like when we emboss with it. Let me just grab an embossing folder here. I think that this cardstock looks amazing when you emboss with it. Metallic. And you can experiment as well with lots of different weights of cardstock when you're embossing. So this is a 3D folder, and then you would just put it in your machine and follow your instructions for 3D folders. And I'm just gonna, this one I think was a little bit thicker. Sometimes you have to experiment with what you're putting in here. Let me run this through and just double check that this is, and I'm trying not to shake the camera either. So I'm just running this through my machine. sometimes I will run through a smaller piece too, which is what I probably should have done, but just to see how it reacts with the folder. So sometimes the folder will press quite hard and you might get some cracking with different cardstocks. This actually turned out beautifully. And sometimes people find that spritzing it a little bit on the back before you put it in, that'll help. If you had a thicker cardstock, you might have to adjust your layers. But for the most part, these universal plates from Spellbinders are really great. And it says how to build the embossing folder sandwich. With embossing folders, some are thicker, some are thinner. But normally if it's a 3D folder, you would just need this base, then you would have your folder, and then your adapter plate, and you just run it through so that you don't have to worry about a whole bunch of shims. But you can kind of see, like, that is so gorgeous. That's stunning, and you could literally use that as your background, put a sentiment, and be done. So I do love using metallic cardstocks with embossing folders. It's like a surprise every time you open it. But definitely, you know, try your embossing folders with different types of papers and see how it reacts, and you might find something that you absolutely love. Let's see here. Yeah, lots of great price points. And if you're looking in the shop, you can put in like metallic or mirror as your keyword and just see what comes up and have a look. Spellbinders also has brushed silver and gold. I don't know what we have in right now, but these are beautiful. Tonic had a pearlescent one, which I think we might have been sold out of, but they might have some other ones in there. And they have this shiny instead of like it's a pearlescent finish, right? So this is gorgeous as well, embossed, but really beautiful when you die cut with it as well. And there's lots of really nice effects that this can have. So that is the mirror and the brushed cardstock, or foiled. Hi, Cynthia. Okay, then we have glitter cardstock, which is fantastic. I think having glitter cardstock in your stash is a must as well. I think sometimes you're just adding that little bit, like an edge around something, or you're die cutting a sentiment out of it, and it's just enough to add a little bit of bling to your card. The brushed ones are, yeah, they are really great too. So this is an older 6x6, but it's a paper pad of assorted. There might be another, I don't know if this is in the shop or the different color combination is, but this is really great. And then Sandy was just showing a glitter, I think yesterday, right, Sandy? I don't remember what the name of it was, and it looked beautiful as well. So if you look for glitter cardstock, so you're going to have, whether it's an 8.5 by 11 or a smaller pad or even a 12 by 12, you'll have a pack of assorted or one color, and you can cut it, you can die cut it. Hi Irene, how are you doing? Yes, it is very pretty. And I think this just gives you just that little bit, like I've had this, I still have lots of this left. I've had this for a long time, and I find that I tend to add smaller accents. And even if I was using it as to go around something as an outline, I would as a mat, I would probably cut out the center so that I could save that center that's not going to be seen. So that's glitter, and lots of different colors that you can find that in. Then, okay, let's see here. We've got hot foil plates, which if you find that you're not getting a good hot foil transfer with your glimmer machine, I'm pretty sure that it's because of the paper. So Spellbinders has a really lovely paper that they recommend for their hot foil. And then this is Hammermill cover stock. It's the one with the little chameleon on it. But you can tell whichever one that you get, it's got a really smooth surface. So it really allows the foil to transfer. So this is a blue foil, and this is specific for hot foil. So this foil is hot foil and not for a laminator. And yeah, basically it's super easy, and you will notice a difference if you use a cardstock that is a little bit smoother and it's you know, kind of been proven to work. So I think they do lots of foiling on the colored cardstock, and I don't know if anybody can chime in if they use the regular Spellbinders cardstock or if they have a different one. I do know too, if you just use regular white cardstock and you put ink on top of it, like do an ink blended background, it actually foils really nicely. I'm just going to get a drink of water. So it, for some reason, I guess because you have that layer of ink, it's beautiful, so well worth trying. And especially, you know, if maybe you ran out of smooth paper and you have something you want to foil, then use your distress inks, blend your background, and then do your foiling on top. And it doesn't have to be on this paper. It can just be on regular white cardstock. But I love the look of hot foiling. And then keeping on with our Spellbinders machines, thought we could run this through. So the Better Press paper. These are cotton card panels, and they are nice. They work really nicely with watercolors. They have a really nice thickness, and it works really well with the panels. So this one here is just a floral for the Better Press, and you can try it with different papers. You can try it with different inks. This you get a really good result with. So I think play around, see what you like, and if you're not sure and you really want to make sure you have a really great result, this definitely does work. So I'll show you here how we can do this. So this is one of those panels. I've put down this die, or it's a plate, the Better Press plate. We've got the grid lines, so I know that my background is going to be on those lines. And then you can grab one of your inks. This one is the Better Press ink, but there's lots of videos out there too. People use various inks. Before we ink it, we're actually going to tape this on the top. So we're going to take a couple pieces of our yellow tape. And then we've got the registration lines on the plate. It doesn't matter which side you put down. And this is honestly so easy. You will be shocked at how easy it is and how great it looks. So we tape it on there because this is pressing down onto it. And if we just laid the paper on there, it might move around. So we want to tape this on first. I really do love the Better Press, and the nice thing as well is that it actually these will work with your glimmer machine. So we've got our ink here. This is a permanent ink, and another reason why it's kind of nice to use this on your Better Press plates is because then you can go in and add watercolors and this doesn't run. So you just want to add the inks, and when I'm adding them, I'm tapping them and just kind of moving back and forth. You're only going to put it through once, so you do want to make sure you have lots of ink coverage. There is a beautiful, well, there's a bunch of beautiful Better Press plates that have just come into the shop. If you look in the February new category, then they've come out with some new ones that have like a registration, and so you can do different colors by laying each plate down and then putting the color on and just getting an amazing result. And I'm probably overdoing this, but I just want to make sure that it's nicely covered. Okay, and there's different packs of the Better Press ink too, if you like those inks, and they're really pretty colors. So then we're just going to put this on. It's like it presses down. It's got this hinge type thing. So easy. And then we're just going to literally run it through this die cut machine. So I've got my Platinum 6 off to the side, and it even feels like you're barely applying any pressure. And then you're just running it through once. You don't want to run it back and forth. And then you're lifting it up. I just lift it up on one side and kind of pull it off, and you can see that you get this gorgeous result anytime. It's really beautiful. I know Rosie did a live a while ago, I'm not sure when, but she tried out various inks, and that was fun too, just to see how they react. But again, I think you should just, if you have a question about will it work, just try it. So with this, then you've got this outline. You could leave it like that. You could cut it out. You could add another one on this side, and then you could, you know, have you could have this as your card panel. You could put your sentiment. So there's various sentiments that you could get, or you could even, if you wanted to do the sentiment and run it through the glimmer machine, then you could have a glimmered sentiment. But even putting a sentiment here and then having it in a different color would look amazing. And then you can watercolor with either watercolors that you have. You can take inks. So if you've got some of your distress inks, or your, actually let's grab this. If you've got these Pink Fresh or Altenew inks, they're dye-based, and so they're water-based. I don't want that color. I'm just kind of like winging this, guys. It's kind of, oh yeah, we should try this. So hopefully you're on board for that. There's the green that I had. And then I think I have a blue. That would look nice. Yeah. So if you took a water brush, I find that my water brushes, those are the things that I am always losing. I think I need to order some more. There is a pack, I think there's a pack of water brushes that are in the shop. So if you were to take one of your inks and smoosh it on your mat, and say that blue actually matches that very nicely. It looks pretty light right now, but then you can just pick up, hello Shirley, pick up your color and you can paint it right on to here, and that ink is permanent, so it's not going to move around. And it's a really pretty way to fill in that color, but I think just the nature of these, they look beautiful outlined as well. Just left outlined. So really whatever you think. And then I would just wipe off my water brush. When you're using a water brush, you don't want to be squeezing it or the water's going to go all over the place. Oh yeah, that looks pretty. So we could go over that, go over this with our watercolor and just add more as needed, and then come back in and use a darker one. That's probably what I would do. And then add a little bit of shading. And you don't need to be like super fancy. Sometimes if you just follow the lines, that will actually be enough to give you a little bit of shading. So it's just a very pretty way to, I think, just having those printed and even taking some watercolors or some watercolor markers with you somewhere. That would be a nice way to take a project that you could work on. You could have those pressed. Okay. So that is your better press and your glimmer. There's a couple butterflies. I had also in the past painted these with those Lavinia Dinkles watercolor powders. They are beautiful for watercoloring. And I tend to keep my papers that go with my better press, I keep those with the better press so that I'm not losing them or misplacing them. Okay, and then we have Nina Solar White, which I really like for Copic coloring. There's other Copic papers that you can get. What plate is that? Sorry. It is Country Roses. I think somebody had given me it. It says BP048 if you want to look it up. And if it's something you do want Sandy to order, you can ask her, and if it's in the shop, she can place that with her next order. It is a nice one. And it's kind of small enough that, you know, it's easy to work with as well. So Nina Solar White is one that I use for Copic coloring. There might be some Copic paper in the shop, and you could probably type in Copic if you're looking for it, but I think Express It is a nice one. There's probably other ones out there. So this is just Nina Solar White. It's a fairly thin, you can get a thicker one as well. This is probably just 80 pound. And I like this if I'm coloring with Copics. So I would stamp my image, and you want to stamp with, I'm just thinking if I have a stamp here that will work. I have like a million stamps around me. Okay, let's let me see. I don't know if she's in the shop anymore. She's so cute. Look at this little Lavinia stamp. Let's do it. Okay, I'm just gonna cut a piece of this. And if I'm cutting my paper so that I can stamp some stamps, a lot of times I will cut it in quarters. So I'll cut it at 5.5, and then I'll cut it at 4 1/4, and then I find these pieces are easier to work with if I'm going to be stamping or taking it anywhere. Hi, Deb. And let me find my stamp press. All right, so I like stamping with Pink Fresh Detail Black if I'm going to be doing coloring with any alcohol markers. And you can color with other things on this, not necessarily watercolors, because it's just not going to absorb the watercolor, but it works nicely with Copics for sure. So we're just going to stamp this girl because I think she's adorable. And this has a little bit more detail, so I think I definitely would have a stamp press rather than a stamp block, but whatever you feel comfortable with. And she's a little bit larger, so I'd even put her in the middle of my paper, so that if I wanted to just have this as my main image and put a sentiment on, I could. And I'm probably going to have to stamp a few times. This is the first time I've stamped this one, so between that and there just being a lot of black space. I also, if I'm stamping for Copic coloring, I normally stamp it and make sure that it's really dry. We'll do it, I think one more time should be okay. All right, let's do one more. And it does dry pretty quickly. This paper doesn't take long to dry. We could do it again, but we're not going to do that again right now. So then we'll pull that off. And I'm just going to spray this and give it a very quick wipe, because I hate leaving things with ink on them. And then I can always give it a better clean after, but then it won't drive me crazy. Okay, so because I just stamped it and it's quite a bit of black, normally I wouldn't do this, I'd just set it aside for a minute, but I'm just gonna quickly make sure that it's completely dry. And if you find that you are coloring with alcohol-based markers and the black is bleeding, it's probably because you're not using an ink that's Copic friendly. All right, so I'm just using some Copics here. Actually, let's see here. I find it very hard to blend with the blues that I have, and so that probably is not a good choice. I need to kind of blend them off to the side. Okay, these are better. There's lots of Copics in the shop as well. Let's see, let's see that. So you can do whatever you want with Copics. If you do want to add a little bit of blending, how I like to do it, but everybody has their own thing, is I like to start with dark and then go to light. So I do a little bit of dark on the edge, then I go over it with my lighter color. And normally I would be a lot closer to what I'm coloring, so I'm trying not to go to the edge. And then if I wanted to add another color, another lighter color, then I would just come in and kind of just fill it in. I think a lot of times you don't have to have a perfect blend, but this paper definitely does help you blend a bit. Sometimes just doing it and walking away from it, when you come back, the colors have blended. So I just add shading where I feel like I want shading. And then again, just go over it with my next color. And then if I don't have a lighter color that I wanted to add in, I'll just wait a second for that to kind of dry a little bit, and then I'll come in. Copics are also nice because you can layer them. And if I was to let that dry a little bit, then go back over the darker parts, they would get even darker. But you can get just a really nice look quickly, I feel like. So I do like having that on hand because I do like Copic coloring. All right, let's put that away. And that image is so cute. I do have to do a project with it, and I haven't quite decided what I'm doing, but maybe that will inspire me to figure out what I'm going to do. Then we have Yupo paper. Yupo is a synthetic paper, and it is great for alcohol ink. So it's like plastic. It's not really paper. It's plastic and it doesn't tear, and it's great for alcohol inks because the inks just move around. If you were to try alcohol inks on regular cardstock, they're not going to move. So for instance, this is just a piece of that Nina Solar White, and we've got some alcohol inks here. Also, you can, if you did a background on Yupo paper, and you can cut it, it comes in sheets. It also comes in like a package that has this kind of top on it as well. There's lots of different ways that it comes. And Yupo is what it's called. So say if I'm doing some drops versus here, you can also use glossy cardstock. It will move around a little bit. You're not going to get as much movement as you are on the Yupo, but if you have glossy cardstock, or Ranger sells it as alcohol ink cardstock, and if you do get alcohol ink on you, it's going to be there for a little while. I haven't used my alcohol inks in a while. Do you guys find that you go through phases where you use them and then you don't use them for a while? So you can already see, like, this has gone right through. Copics would be alcohol ink as well in them. So similar to that, you're going to get your Copics, you're going to be able to blend them on the paper a little bit, but then once they're there, they're permanent. So if I was to come in with my blending solution, you're going to get just a little bit of a reaction, but it's not going to move around. Whereas if we come in with our blending solution on our Yupo paper, and I think if you like doing alcohol inks, this thing is definitely something to have in your stash. It is so nice to be able to just move these things around. The glass mat as well is really nice because you can just clean it off with hand sanitizer or alcohol, and you can really get that cool effect. So you can see how that moves around for quite a while. You have quite a while to move it around, but even after it's dry, so that's beautiful like that. But even after it's dry, we could come in with either some alcohol or some blending solution, and it's going to keep moving around. We could put more ink on top of this. If we hated it for some reason, then we could actually spray it with rubbing alcohol and wipe most of this off and start again. This is 91% rubbing alcohol, and you can also get some really cool effects just using the alcohol. So the blending solution kind of helps it move, and it has a binder in there. You don't want to put that in a spray bottle, but you can put rubbing alcohol in a spray bottle. And it's just fun to play with. So I think this, the Yupo, it is a little pricier, but you're getting a really good quality result. So it definitely is worth it. If you're not sure and you want to try out some things, try getting the alcohol ink cardstock and playing around with that. But definitely it's not going to work on regular paper. But I've had this for a long time, and I usually cut it in half, and that gives me a big enough piece that I could have my main focal image. I can stamp on it still, and these are even like quarters. So you can do quite a bit with a pad of it. Let's see here. There's the alcohol ink Dura Bright. So that is a black matte card, well, for alcohol inks, it works great. It's from Graphics, and it's put out by Ranger. And so if you put regular alcohol inks on it, it's not going to show up because they're translucent. But if you did the pearls or the metallics, they're going to show really nicely. This is an older one that's Silver Sparkle. I don't even know if they make that anymore. Let's go out a bit. It was out a while ago, and it might still be around. And then we've got some mixed media cardstocks. So the ones that I have here, oh, we also have, I pulled out that toner sheet, but I don't know what there. The toner card fronts, they are cardstock. There's various ones in the shop, but what you do with them is you can use them as is. They have this pretty design printed on them, so you could just ink them up or use them as a background, but you can put them through a laminator, so like a Mink machine or just a laminator that you have, with the deco foil transfer sheets. So it's different than the hot foil. It's the transfer sheets, but you do have to use a laminator in order to get the foil to transfer, and it works beautifully. Like it is gorgeous. I don't even know what time it is. I'm looking, okay, almost 2. So those are, I think, another nice one to have in your stash, and you can do a lot with those. And then we have the mixed media cardstock. This is from Ranger. I love working with this. I feel like it's, especially if you like mixed media, it isn't off like a vanilla color. So, but if you like working with like the manila tags, it's a little bit lighter than that, and you get a really, really awesome look. I'm just going to quickly kind of show you. I didn't really grab any sprays or anything, but you can stamp on it. Let's see here. It's an A4 size, and you get a pack of it. It's 88 pounds. So it's not super heavy, but it actually works really nicely. You can blend on it. You can do sprays or paints. So if we grabbed, let me see here. I've just got some mixed media Dina Wakley paints. There are some paints in the shop. Let me just grab a paintbrush. we were to, I'm just thinking, if I had a stencil, if you saw my space, literally, it's like I've got piles of things for each project that I'm working on, and then all this stuff. Let's see. What can I get that is something that I can show you? There's tons of stencils in the shop. Okay, this is just a Crafting Kimmy one. And if I wanted to add a little bit of paint and then do some sprays. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of paint on my foam dauber. Probably don't need quite that much, so we'll... This is also not the best foam. For some reason, it's like not really sticking, so we're just going to smoosh it in here. Okay, we've got our paint on our sponge. And this is a good way to do a resist too. It would probably be helpful if I was using a stencil mat, but anyway. Okay, so we can add the paint right over. I'll show you a couple different mediums on this. So we've got our paint that's on there. You do want to rinse off your sponge or throw it in some water, because otherwise when it does harden, it will definitely be hard. And you can just give your stencil a wipe. Or if you're doing a lot of stenciling, just having one of those little plastic shoe boxes with some water, that's great to use. And I don't really mind if there's color on my stencil. I just try to avoid like chunks of paint or something. And so we've got our background. This dries really quickly because we did just sponge it on. It doesn't have a lot on. We could put any kind of pastes or anything on there. We can come in with our inks. So if we have the Distress ink, let's see. You want a color that's, I actually like orange, but you know what? I grabbed a blue spray, so that'll just look weird. Let's do this one. Salvaged Patina. Who's liking that Scorched Timber? I love that color. I think it was a great color, a great accent for things. So we can also use our inks or our oxides or any dye-based ink. And so that is actually going to create a resist for the ink because the ink is water-based. And this is fairly light. We could even come in with a little bit of that brown. The Scorched Timber. Although I don't know if I have any more. What I'm going to have to do is sneak this. Oh, have you seen these cute little daubers, the sponge daubers? These are new. So this is actually the oxide. These are great if you're doing smaller areas that you want to get into. Normally, probably if I was doing a background like this, I would just use a regular sponge, but I don't have one right here, so And then you can rinse these sponges out. You can just wash them out. So you can see how it just gets in around that paint. That gives you a better look. Just because the blue is so light, it's pretty on there. But I wanted you to be able to see without taking a ton of time to build up that layers. And then you can come in with sprays or water. And this really does take quite a lot. So if you spray it, your inks are going to react. And then you can just let it set, or you can dab it up and get that fun effect. You can come in with your mica sprays and spray over top. You can do a lot of layering on this mixed media paper. And you just want to make sure if you're using the mica stains that you're really shaking them up and making sure that you get all that mica off of the bottom. And actually, if I sprayed that a little harder, it would have sprayed out a bit more. But we'll set that aside, and you'll be able to see that it'll kind of seep in around those areas and just give a really cool effect. So we'll wipe that up. I will show you that after, what it looks like. I don't know that I'd necessarily do all those colors together, but it just gives you an idea of things that you can do on that. There's also watercolor paper that you can use. And this is tonic. There's lots of different watercolor paper. This is cold pressed. It's a little more textured on one side. You can get hot pressed. You can get watercolor cardstock that's fairly smooth. A lot of times it does have a little bit of texture. So if you're stamping on it, or when I'm stamping on it, I tend to go to the smoother side and then stamp on it. Or if I'm doing some kind of mixed media or watercolors on it, then it doesn't really matter. There, that's spraying a bit better. But it does take a lot more water than your standard piece of paper. So if you just had a regular piece of cardstock and you spray on it, there's this alcohol ink one that we were just doing some testing on. If we were to spray on this, what you spray is what you get, which is fine, and you can still use it, but just realizing that if you add water, it's not going to move around because it's just sticking on where you put it. Whereas with the watercolor paper, you get a lot more movement. And you can use your watercolor markers and lots of different things on that, and then you would just set that aside to dry. And this is our last one. So the Vicki Boutin Mixed Media Foundations paper. I'm just going to see if I have some of this cut. Okay, so there's a piece of the black. And then the white. Oh, I found some. Good. So let me see if I have what I have here. All right, I've got some solar pastes and some lunar pastes. There's a lot of different things you can do with the black or the white. It has almost a vellum finish. So it has a smooth finish on one side. Sometimes when I cut this, I mark the front or the back because the front does have the finish. I did not do that. So it's okay. Like, I find that you still get a really good movement. You can use lots of mixed media. You can stamp on this. It comes in 12 by 12. And sometimes I find it does take a little bit longer to dry because it is so thick. I feel like I've been talking a lot. So the black, you can use lots of different things. So this is the opal polish. They work really nice on anything that's black. And this would be really nice in like over a stencil or something, but just so you get an idea, it looks gorgeous. This one here is, get the cover back on. This is Copper Pearl, and this is one of the opal polishes from Creative Expressions. And the foundations paper, yeah, it's amazing. The solar pastes, so you can use these on, you can use them on dark or light. But I do find I like, if I'm doing them on white, I like having an ink underneath. And then if I'm, where's that card that I had earlier? I don't know if you can kind of see. So I did a background on this card with some purple ink, and then I put the purple over top, and you can see that shimmer. So I like doing that if I'm doing it on white, and if you're doing it on black, you can literally just sponge it on, or you can use your palette knife, and whatever color these solar pastes are the color that is going to show up. So it is beautiful, and when that dries, you'll see that color even more. That one is the Golden Hour. And then I'll show you this is the Royal Flush. I mean, it's so stunning. So similar to how we put the paint on, where we put it on the sponge, I would do that. Actually, I'll show you what it looks like on. It looks just plain until it dries and you see it in the light. And this is a really nice weight. I think it's like, this is 215 pounds. Like it's a thick cardstock. And the lunar pastes are gorgeous. You can use those on white or black, and they are stunning. So you can kind of see, like whichever one you use the lunar pastes on, you're going to get that exact color. And the solar pastes are more of a shimmer. So if we turn that in the light, see that shimmer underneath? So if you put it over anything, you're going to get that shimmer. But they do show up beautifully on black cardstock. The interference inks, I need another piece of black. Here's a piece that I put the Distress watercolor crayon or pencils on it, and they look great on the background. And because they're watercolor, you can do watercoloring on it, and you can watercolor on either one of these. They look great. And then these these interference inks, I just opened this one up. I ordered it a while ago, but I hadn't tried it. So they look different on white or dark. So this is Lavender Field Shimmer, and it is so cool. So we're going to put a little bit on the dark and then on the light. And you can see, especially as it starts to dry, when you look at the ink pads, the color that's on the left is going to be the color that's on white or light cardstock, and then the color on the right is going to be the color you get on dark. So these are stunning, and there's lots of different colors. These are all also water reactive. So if you add a little bit of water, you can get some movement there and some really cool effects. Those are fun to play with. So some really neat ideas. And then one of my favorite coloring techniques is using these click art markers, and they work really well on the Vicki Boutin Foundations paper. These do not work well on watercolor paper. So if I would normally stamp something, and then I add my color around the edge of whatever I'm coloring, and then I just take a watercolor brush and fill it in, and I get this beautiful watercolor effect. So if I had a flower stamped, then I would color it in, or whatever image I have, or if you wanted to, you know, swatch them out or whatever. So it blends really nice, but you do have to have a cardstock for these that is really smooth and moves around. I think that's it. I think that's all of the fun things that I had to show you today. So as you can see, there are lots and lots of different papers that, depending on what you like to do, would be in your stash. There's that mixed media paper that's still kind of just drying, but I think you can do lots with this. You could then stamp over top and get some really neat effects. And there's our watercolor and our glimmer, and then our better press ones, and then all those other fun papers that, you know, you have in your stash. Pull them out and see what you like to do with them. This is also really fun to add alcohol inks to, just because it has that really smooth surface. It's not going to work exactly like Yupo, but you will get a little bit of movement. So if you wanted, and this is the last thing I'm going to do, I just put some alcohol down so it could move around a little bit. And then I would probably take one of those, a piece of felt. I should have had this ready. I don't even know where you can get the felt anymore. But I mean, you could just use regular felt. It's just a little piece of felt, and move it around with some rubbing alcohol or some blending solution. Can you see that? Oh yeah. And you've just got this really pretty effect on your foil cardstock. So that's something to kind of try as well. So that is it. That's our Back to Basics series. We've just been, every week we've been kind of exploring a different product category, which is nice because then you can go into your stash and say, okay, I'm going to try out my watercolor papers, or gather them together and organize them or something. And we do have a Scrap Shotz paper crafting Facebook group, and if you want to pop in there and share what you're working on, we would love to see it. We do have a challenge for February. It's to finish something. So that also would be a great idea, to grab something from your stash and then grab some of your cardstocks and finish it up, post it in the album in the group, and then you could win a $25 gift card for Scrap Shotz. So that goes till the end of the month. What else? We have Carnival coming up. Yeah, so many options, Rosie. We have Carnival coming up with Creative Scrapbooker in April and May. So if you have things on your wish list that you want to order and pick up at Carnival so you save on shipping, then you can do that, and place those orders now and just make a note. And yeah, I think that's it. If you want to sign up for a newsletter, you can either do that through our website. I think it's at the bottom, but on our blog for sure. If you look for the Scrap Shotz blog, on the top right-hand corner, you'll see newsletter sign up, and then you find out what's going on each week. It's a good way to just find out, you know, what's new, or maybe there's a sale going on. Sandy's been doing some bundle sales. I don't know if she's still got some of those up her sleeve that she's going to pull together, but if so, those will be on the on the Facebook page. And then every Thursday we have a live. So next week Rosie will be here and she will do something else that's fantastic. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and share with us what you're doing that's crafty and your favorite cardstocks. We would love to know. Thanks, Sandy. Oh, more bundles to come. So stay tuned to the Facebook page and get some crafty sale bundles. All right, we will talk to you guys soon. Bye.